Welcome to our deep dive, into the work of Alfred North Whitehead.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be kind of exploring some excerpts from an article about his philosophy,
Oh, yeah.
focusing on how he challenges this traditional scientific thinking.
Yeah,
You may not know Whitehead's name,
right.
but his ideas are surprisingly relevant today,
I think so.
especially as we grapple with all these, implications of artificial intelligence and quantum mechanics.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
His philosophy, often called process philosophy, really pushes us to rethink some fundamental assumptions
uh
about science and reality.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
The article kind of highlights Whitehead's critique of
Mhm.
that they call scientific reductionism.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
So scientific reductionism is the idea that the only things that are truly real
Okay.
are the things we can measure objectively.
Okay.
So things like mass motion or chemical composition.
Gotcha.
These are called primary qualities. Other aspects of our experience,
Yeah.
like color taste or
Mhm.
emotions,
Right.
are considered secondary qualities.
Mm.
And traditional science often dismisses them as just being subjective.
So a sunset is beautiful to us,
Right.
but really it's just wavelengths.
Yeah, that's the kind of thinking that Whitehead challenges.
Okay.
He argues that this separation of primary and secondary qualities creates a false dichotomy.
Uh-huh.
It makes it seem like our subjective experiences
Right.
are somehow less real
Okay.
than the objective measurements of science.
And what's wrong with that? What's the problem with that?
The problem is that it ignores the richness of our actual experience.
Okay.
It's like saying that a symphony is nothing but vibrations in the air.
Well,
Those vibrations are certainly part of it,
Right.
but they don't capture the full experience of listening to music.
Totally.
Whitehead insists that our subjective experiences
Yeah.
are just as important as the objective data.
He uses a great example in the article. Imagine biting into a juicy red apple.
Yeah, a delicious apple.
Science can tell us all about the chemical composition of the apple,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what makes it an apple for us.
Right.
It's the taste, the texture,
Exactly.
the redness that we experience.
Exactly. Whitehead argues that this split between objective and subjective
Right.
creates a distorted view of reality.
Oh, okay.
And what makes this even more interesting is that Whitehead points out that science itself relies on something that it can't fully explain, the mind.
So he's saying that the act of observing, measuring, and understanding
Yes.
already presupposes consciousness,
Exactly.
that we can't really separate the observer from the observed.
Precisely. And this connects to what Immanuel Kant,
Oh, wow.
another philosopher, was saying
Yeah.
about how our perceptions shape our knowledge.
Okay.
We don't have direct access to reality.
Right.
We experience it through the lens of our own minds.
This is where his idea of process philosophy comes in, right? Instead of static objects, he sees the universe as this dynamic web of processes,
Yeah, it's just
constantly changing and evolving.
that's the heart of it.
Okay.
Whitehead challenges the traditional view of the world as a giant clockwork machine,
Right.
where everything is fixed and predictable.
Okay.
Instead, he sees it more like a flowing river,
Okay.
always changing,
Hmm.
yet still having a distinct identity.
So instead of asking, what is this thing?
Right.
We should be asking, what is this thing doing and how is it relating to everything else?
Exactly. For Whitehead, reality is about relationships and change.
Okay.
And this shift in perspective has huge implications.
Okay.
It means that time and change are fundamental to reality itself.
Gotcha.
And leads us to a really interesting connection.
Mm-hmm.
The way Whitehead's process philosophy resonates with modern physics,
Okay.
particularly quantum mechanics.
Quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into some really mind-bending territory.
Yeah.
But didn't quantum mechanics actually show that the world is unpredictable? That there's an element of chance involved?
You're right. One of the key concepts in quantum mechanics
Yeah.
is the idea of actuality and possibility.
Okay.
At any given moment, there are multiple possibilities for what might happen next,
Right.
but only one of those possibilities becomes real.
So it's not all predetermined. There's
Yeah.
genuine openness to the future.
That's what quantum mechanics suggests.
Okay.
And this aligns perfectly with Whitehead's idea of process.
Uh-huh.
The universe isn't just unfolding according to a fixed plan.
Right.
It's constantly creating itself anew.
So there's another kind of mind-blowing connection
Yeah.
to Whitehead.
Yeah.
What's that?
Whitehead takes this idea of process to a whole other level with his concept of panpsychism.
Okay.
He suggests that even at the most fundamental levels of reality,
Yeah.
there's some degree of experience or agency.
Hold on. So he's saying that even atoms
Yes.
might have some kind of experience.
Yes.
That sounds pretty radical.
It is, and this is where things get really interesting.
Atoms having experience, that's a pretty wild concept.
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean they have feelings like we do?
Well, it's unlikely that they experience emotions, in the same way that we do.
Okay.
Whitehead isn't saying that, atoms are like sentient beings or something.
Right.
What he's suggesting is that the building blocks of reality
Yeah.
might possess a very rudimentary form
Okay.
of experience or agency,
Gotcha.
and this challenges that traditional view that consciousness just kind of emerged
All right.
out of complex brains.
Okay.
Um,
So for Whitehead, experience is somehow fundamental to reality itself.
yes, in a way that's very difficult for us to grasp.
Okay.
Um, but it opens up all these fascinating questions
Yeah.
about the nature of consciousness and the interconnectedness of everything in the universe.
Right.
Now, the article also mentions Whitehead's critique of certain aspects of modern theoretical physics.
Yeah.
Curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, he specifically criticizes theories like the multiverse, right?
That's right. Whitehead believed that these kinds of theories,
Okay.
while interesting,
Yeah.
were too speculative,
Okay.
and they strayed too far from what we can actually observe.
He has a great quote about this. He says that scientists,
Oh, yeah?
animated by the purpose of proving that they are purposeless, constitute an interesting subject for study.
I love that quote.
What do you think about that?
Well, he's pointing out a potential irony
Uh-huh.
in the scientific pursuit of objectivity,
Right.
in trying to prove that everything is random and meaningless.
Yeah.
Scientists might be missing a bigger picture,
Okay.
the possibility that consciousness, purpose, and meaning
Right.
are woven into the fabric of existence itself.
It's a pretty provocative thought, it seems like. Whitehead is really pushing us to expand our view of both science and reality itself.
Yeah, I think so.
But how does this practically change the way we see the world and live our lives?
Well, one of the key implications of Whitehead's philosophy is that it encourages us to embrace a more dynamic and relational view of reality.
Okay.
Instead of thinking of ourselves as isolated individuals,
Yeah.
we start to see ourselves as interconnected nodes within a vast, constantly evolving web of relationships.
So it's less about me and more about we.
Precisely, this understanding fosters a sense of responsibility.
Okay.
Our actions have ripple effects.
Hmm.
We're constantly influencing and being influenced by everything around us.
Right.
And this challenges the traditional individualistic mindset
Yeah.
that often dominates Western thought.
I can see how this perspective could have a really profound impact on how we approach issues like climate change.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we truly understand that we're part of this interconnected web,
Right.
then harming the environment is ultimately harming ourselves.
Absolutely. Whitehead's philosophy emphasizes the importance of recognizing
Yeah.
the intrinsic value of all beings
Okay.
and understanding that our well-being is inextricably linked
Right.
to the well-being of the planet as a whole.
Gotcha.
It shifts us away from a purely utilitarian view of nature,
Okay.
where things are only valuable if they're useful to us,
Yeah.
and towards a more holistic and interconnected understanding of our place in the cosmos.
What about how this impacts our approach to science and knowledge?
Right.
You mentioned earlier that Whitehead sees science as offering just one particular perspective on reality.
Yes, he acknowledged the value of science.
Yeah.
But he also felt that it was important to recognize its limitations.
Okay.
Science excels at, measurement, quantification, and prediction.
Mm-hmm.
But for Whitehead, our direct experience of the world,
Okay.
the way we perceive colors, feel emotions,
Yeah.
and make sense of our lives,
Right.
is also a valid source of knowledge.
So it's not about rejecting science.
No.
But about kind of broadening our understanding of what counts as knowledge
Exactly.
and recognizing that no single perspective can fully capture the complexity of reality.
Exactly. Whitehead challenges us to find ways to integrate those different ways of knowing,
Okay.
to hold both the scientific and the experiential perspectives in creative tension.
And this conversation makes me think about the limits of language itself.
Oh, yeah.
We're using words to try to describe these concepts that are incredibly abstract and complex.
Right.
Did Whitehead struggle with this as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was known for his very dense and challenging writing style,
Right.
which some critics found impenetrable.
Okay.
But I think it reflects the profound nature
Yeah.
of the questions he was grappling with.
Yeah.
It takes effort to even begin to grasp,
Right.
concepts that challenge our fundamental assumptions about reality.
So maybe the struggle is part of the process of understanding.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Whitehead believed that learning is an active process.
Mm.
It requires us to actively engage, think critically, and embrace uncertainty.
I'm curious about how Whitehead's ideas have been received by the scientific community. Have his ideas had any impact?
It's a mixed bag.
Okay.
Some scientists dismiss his work as being too speculative or philosophical,
Yeah.
but others find it incredibly inspiring,
Yeah.
especially those working in fields like quantum physics, cosmology, and consciousness studies.
So there are scientists that are open to these more holistic and process-oriented ways of thinking.
Definitely there's a growing movement in science
Okay.
that embraces complexity, interconnectedness,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea that reality is more than just a collection of isolated objects.
Right.
And Whitehead's philosophy has been a major influence on this movement.
That's encouraging. It suggests that science itself is evolving
I think so.
and becoming more open to different ways of understanding the universe.
I agree, and it's a testament to the enduring power of Whitehead's ideas.
Yeah.
He was ahead of his time in many ways,
Yeah.
offering a vision of reality that resonates with many scientists today.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface of Whitehead's thought, but it's clear that his ideas are deeply relevant
I think so.
to how we understand ourselves and the world around us.
We have covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
It's important to kind of pause and reflect
Mm-hmm.
on how these ideas might apply to our own lives,
Yeah.
especially in the context of today's world.
That's a great point. Perhaps after a short break, we can shift our focus to the personal implications
Okay.
of Whitehead's philosophy. What does it mean for us as individuals to embrace this process-oriented view of reality? We'll explore that next.
Welcome back. We've been exploring the philosophy of Alfred North Whitehead, and I'm particularly intrigued by how his ideas might apply to our everyday lives.
Yeah.
If, as Whitehead suggests, everything is in process, constantly changing,
Yeah.
what does that mean for us as individuals?
Well, it's a really profound question.
Yeah.
One of the key implications, I think, is that our identities are not fixed or static.
Okay.
We're not defined by some unchanging essence.
Right.
Instead, we are constantly evolving.
Shaped by our experiences, relationships, and choices.
So it's less about finding yourself,
Yeah.
as if there's some predetermined self out there waiting to be discovered,
Right.
and more about creating yourself
Yeah.
through your experiences and actions.
Exactly. We are a collection of experiences, memories, and relationships, all kind of woven together in this ever-changing tapestry of becoming.
Yeah.
And this realization can be both liberating and a bit daunting.
Liberating because we're not limited by some fixed definition of who we are,
Right.
but daunting because it places the responsibility for shaping our lives squarely on our own shoulders.
That's a great way to put it. Whitehead challenges us to become active participants in our own becoming, to embrace the creative possibilities that each moment offers.
Yeah.
We're not just passengers on this journey.
Right.
We're the co-creators of our own lives.
That sounds empowering, but also a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to approach life from this perspective? Where do we start?
Well, Whitehead emphasizes the importance of what he calls presentational immediacy.
Okay.
It's about being fully present in the moment.
Yeah.
Paying attention to our senses, feelings, and intuitions.
Right.
It's about cultivating a deep awareness of what's happening right now,
Okay.
without getting lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future.
So it's similar to the idea of mindfulness.
Yes.
Being aware of what's happening right now in this moment without judgment.
Very much so. By cultivating presentational immediacy,
Okay.
we become more attuned to the subtle nuances of experience and more responsive to the creative possibilities that emerge in each moment.
It reminds me of that line from William Blake.
Oh, yeah.
To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
That's beautiful.
It's about finding the extraordinary within the ordinary.
Yeah.
Seeing the interconnectedness of all things.
Yes.
In even the smallest details.
That's a beautiful connection. And I think it captures the essence of what Whitehead is getting at.
Yeah.
He's asking us to pay attention, to truly see the world around us, and to appreciate the wonder and mystery of it all.
And in a world that's increasingly dominated by technology and distractions,
Well,
That message seems more important than ever.
I agree.
It's so easy to get caught up in the rush of daily life
Yeah,
and lose sight of the beauty and wonder that's all around us.
I agree. Whitehead's philosophy offers a powerful antidote to the fragmentation and alienation
Right.
that many people experience in modern life.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves,
Mm.
that we are interconnected with all beings,
Hmm.
and that our lives have meaning and purpose.
It's a message of hope and connection, which feels especially relevant in a world that often feels divided and disconnected.
I agree.
So as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
into the world of Alfred North Whitehead, what is one key takeaway that you hope our listeners will remember?
I think the most important thing is to remember that Whitehead challenges us to think differently,
Okay.
to think differently about the nature of reality, about ourselves, and about our place in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
He invites us to embrace a more holistic, process-oriented view of life,
Right.
one that recognizes the interconnectedness of all things and the creative possibilities that emerge in each moment.
It's a challenge to see the world anew,
Yeah.
to embrace the mystery and the wonder of it all. This deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
As Whitehead himself might say, it's all part of the process.
That's it for our deep dive into the philosophy of Alfred North Whitehead.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed exploring these thought-provoking ideas with us, and we encourage you to continue your own journey of discovery.
Yes.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.